I think I've forgotten what it was called now, probably in the late 80s, when we were doing in Taiwan. I was running a channel strategy workshop, and I was amazed at this technology. You know, we had the old dial-up modems. It was slow, but we were still having a meeting online and managing those type of processes in those days. And again, I'm sure that, you know, BC covered AI isn't a new thing. It has been around for a while. So why is it different this time in terms of a technology revolution? And think about this for you as leaders. It influences judgment. So you as an individual, you as a leader or a team manager, you as an employee, how are you allowing AI to influence your judgment, and how are you allowing it to actually support you in the decision making? Right? It shapes decisions. So AI quietly in the background is actually, you know, we tend to believe what we see. Right? We tend to believe what, you know, and what we hear. Generally, something, oh, okay, I've heard it from about 4 or 5 people now, so it must be true. Right? That impacts what we prioritize and the decisions we make. And increasingly, more and more organizations are being caught out by relying solely on the information and outcomes and recommendations from AI, and they're forgetting the ethical things. You know, how is that data handled? How, you know, where are the boundaries? Have I got that governance in place to ensure that my reputation is actually protected? And the challenge we have is because a lot of these systems operate at scale with the amount of, you know, volume of data that they're churning out, even the smallest of flaws actually becomes, you know, systemic in an organization. So a bias manager, for example, if you've been influenced by the decisions or the outcomes you've got from your AI, it actually impacts the team. Right? So we know biases exist. This sort of like can, you know, impact it to a different level. You have bias sort of like algorithms, right? That also impacts, you know, the decisions that you're making. So AI, and I'm sure Bissy covered a lot of this, is based on the patterns that exist within the models that you're building, and it can actually mimic authority. How many of you have watched a series? I don't know, it's available globally, because I can't remember which channel it's on, but have any of you seen a program called The Capture? I can't see any hands, so I'm assuming that anyone has. If you haven't, look it up. I think it might be on Netflix. The first series of it came out about a couple of years ago. Right? Yes. And it's a really fascinating program to watch, because something that was imagined many years ago is happening in today's world. And it's I'm not going to give away too much, because I really want you to go and see if you can actually watch it. So where does that leave us? There are a number of fault lines with regard to ethics specifically when it comes to AI. Right? So if you look at recruitment, for example, and I'll talk about recruitment in a little bit more depth. But, you know, the invisible power of AI is the data that you have within your organization. And one of the things I want you to make a note of, and if you walk away with anything from my talk, because you've given me half an hour of your time, I would really like you to walk away with a couple of things. But the first thing I really want you to do is go back and ask yourself, how data literate are you, and how data literate are your teams? So data literacy is a key skill to have in today's world. Right? You can have lots and lots of data, but do you know you can only ask the right questions if you're understanding the data. And remember, there's so much data being thrown at you, you're not going to be able to go through all of it. You're making judgments on X amount of data, 75%, 60%, 50% data that you have. But how data literate are you? Do you really understand that data? The models that you operate within your company around data governance, data literacy, data privacy, all of those impact the recommendations that that are actually made by the machines and your processes that the human beings undertake. And that impacts the human decisions that are made. Right? So that decision-making process is really, really, really key. And this is why I also say it's the invisible power of AI, because I'll get to those 3 bits at the bottom in a second, because the outcomes are really based on bias, because everyone has their own subconscious bias and conscious bias. Trust. If the information, that you're, like the example I gave you right at the beginning, if the information is inaccurate, it impacts trust with your customers, it impacts trust with your team. And ask yourself, do you trust this data? I'm sure you're all well aware of the Deloitte case, whereby one of the lawyers, I think, relied on chat. I don't know which AI solution it was. Could be ChatGPT or Grok or Claude. However, what the outcome and what they presented in court, some of those cases didn't exist. So those cases were actually phantom cases, and the bots were hallucinating. Secondly, some of the acts didn't even exist. So you really need to check, and because mistakes can be made and it can cost you an awful lot. So when you look at that power of AI within your organization, data literacy is the one thing I want you to take away. And the second thing I want you to think about is, how biased are you? How is it impacting your ethics and your bias when you're making those decisions? Right? With me so far? So I want to look at 4 specific aspects of ethics when it comes to AI. The first thing is around recruitment. Right? I don't know how many of you, are involved in recruitment or have, as I said, have your own companies or are an employee. Whichever one it is, this impacts you, because historically, how recruitment has been undertaken is the data and the processes and the information that an organization has on their recruitment policies and the type of candidates that they've had in the past. So their hiring systems are already disadvantaged certain individuals because they don't always take into account diverse perspectives. They don't think of future opportunities in bringing different people on board. And it doesn't mean that, organizations are intentionally being discriminative. But, when it comes to AI, and if they've used AI for those type of recruitment patterns, and when you'll see it more and more now, and especially because people are fearful of losing those jobs. So AI will only learn from those historical patterns. Right? So whatever patterns have been in there, any historical data could actually impact that bias as well. Right? And one of the most important things I want you to take away, along with the data literacy side, is AI does not remove those organization values; it amplifies them. So the second thing around that in ethics is your culture. What type of culture and values does your organization actually have? Because whatever you have in place and whatever that foundation is, that's what AI will use as a foundation, and it will build on that. So if you have a toxic culture, if you have a culture that's unfair, if it's a culture that's not inclusive, all of those will only be amplified by AI. So so basically all AI is doing is, here's your foundation, here's your culture, these are the values. So it builds on those. So it goes back to industrializing unfairness and those biases. Right? So let me just ask a question, if I can see a show of hands. How many of you have actually, if you're an employee, how many of you have had to go through bots to get through a sifting process for interviews? Or if you're an employee, how many of you using AI for your hiring process? Just show, you can just show your hand. So okay, so I've got a few in there. So please take those things into consideration. If you've got any questions around that, I'm happy to answer that at the end of my slides. I don't have too many slides. I don't believe in death by PowerPoint. So I'm trying to keep it brief. So the second fault line I want you to sort of consider is think about authority without understanding. So basically, especially if you're not that confident with new technologies or you're a bit afraid to use AI. I mean, I came across one of my old business clients last night, and there's 2 ladies who run an amazing technology microencapsulation company. So one of them has totally embraced AI and is using it, they've sort of taught it, they've cloned the AI platform that they're using to understand their business, understand the leaders, between the 2 CEOs within the business. The other one refuses to touch AI. You've got one CEO who's very keen on it, co-CEO, the other one totally refuses to touch the AI. So AI can sound very confident even when it's wrong. We've seen deep fake videos, I mentioned capture, and if you look at some of the search engines, you know, they're more wrong than right. And what does this mean for you? I mean, some of the examples, you've got fabricated summaries. I use the Deloitte example. There's many others. You've got fake recommendations coming out. You've had, you know, Taylor Swift, I think it was, that had AI cloned. You've got artists now looking at trying to protect their personalities. And you've got hallucinations. The bots do hallucinate. And it's one of the most dangerous features of AI. It's not that it lies. AI, well, I'm hoping right now transcendence hasn't happened and it doesn't have the emotional capability to lie. But basically, you know, it builds on what it thinks is the truth, and it amplifies it. So, you know, and humans by nature, we are psychologically vulnerable to confidence when systems are very fast, things are moving at a very fast pace, and the pressure is high. So we tend to sort of like crumble under pressure. But what this means for you as a leader, as an organization, is the reputational risk. Right? If the governance isn't in place, reputational risk could be immense to your organization. Right? And what happens is, from a skills-based perspective, your people, including you as a leader, you start losing the ability to think critically. Right? So you're not challenging, you know, what's being given to you, sort of like start accepting it, even if you keep drilling down and trying to sort of like ask it to make the response better, faster, quicker, smarter. You're still not challenging the recommendations that have been given to you. So consider, you as a leader, you know, are you embracing AI? How are you embracing it? But what is the risk that comes with it? And what are the skills you need to teach your people in terms of systems thinking, critical thinking? The third ethics, sort of like fault line I want to discuss, is around privacy and data. And I did mention data literacy earlier on. You know, there's big anxiety about the fact that AI is going to replace 80% of jobs around the world. But so when it comes to leaders, it's like, well, you know, how do I manage this? How do I manage my teams? How do I manage my people? So as a leader, or even as an employee, you have to have, especially as a leader, you have to have a data strategy. You know, I talked about skills and data literacy, but you need to understand how your data is captured, how it's stored. We have regulations around data, different regulations around different parts of the world. UK, we've got GDPR. Dubai has its own. Africa has its own regulations. As does Middle East and Southeast Asia. I'm not going to talk about the US at this moment in time. But what you've got as a leader and as an employee, what's the regulation around data? You know, where's the boundaries between something that's going to be useful to you and something that's not going to be useful to you? Because you've got so much data being thrown at you. And what about confidentiality in terms of privacy? Right? So where are the boundaries actually, and where do they lie in terms of, you know, what is relevant, what's legal? And I think one of the things that you will struggle with, everyone's struggling with at the moment, in terms of AI ethics, is how is that data used? So what is the governance in terms of the discipline around data usage to make sure, one, you're legally compliant, the regulation, and you're making sure that you're aligned and up to date with regulation. And a takeout for you and an action for you, I would like you to consider, you might have a data policy or IT policy in place. What is your policy for AI and its use within your organization? Do you have one? And if you don't, why not? If it's covered within data, it needs to be more explicit in today's day and age. Okay. The fourth fault line is around human impact, right? So this goes back to that fear I was talking about when, you know, everyone says, oh, you know, 80% of our jobs are going to go with AI and you know, what are we going to do? And as leaders, you know, the whole AI debate for me and ethics is around leadership. It's not about the technology. It's not about just compliance. It is about how leaders manage their AI strategy and embracing it to actually get competitive advantage ethically, because it all boils down to reputational risk. Some of you may remember, and AI wasn't around in those days, but some of you may remember Enron. Yeah. You know, in terms of like that was a different type of compliance and ethics breach. There's been so many, you know, corruption cases around the world whereby leaders have just abused systems. But now what you've got, I think even last week I read an article that Claude had actually wiped out a whole company database. So while it can bring opportunities, there are very serious implications if leaders do not manage the ethics within the organization and governance around AI to the level that they should. So some of the things, you know, challenges that you'll have, and you need to think about whether they're tacit or explicit and tangible, non-tangible, is the confidence. Remember, your employees and your team members have different levels of confidence and might be intimidated by AI, right? Or they might embrace it. So think about the different levels of confidence and expertise. What learning solutions and development solutions are you putting in place to train people on AI? What does this actually mean for your organization? You know, if people stop using systems altogether, then that's also an issue. Right? How much autonomy are you giving them? If you don't have AI policies and training and awareness in place, then how can you actually give them that autonomy? And if you think about sort of like how this impacts your organization and you as a leader, so the future advantages aren't really, they won't belong to organizations with the most AI. That's definitely not the case. What it will belong to organizations that actually embrace the human wisdom, the human creativity, and integrate that with the machine capability and what it can do for you. Okay. So we've all, you know, we've all seen deep fake videos, and it's quite scary at times. And as I mentioned, you know, the capture one sort of like puts a lot of things in perspective. And you know, just to give you a slight insight into it, the Prime Minister is actually cloned, giving out quite discriminatory messages. And he's in a totally different place, and this is being aired live on TV. So everyone sort of like thinks, hang on, you know, what's really going on here? Bit like when I saw myself like talking on that video, I was thinking, oh, okay, that's interesting. So going back to this scenario and what I started off my session with, if you have a bot, or if you're using AI as customer facing, as a customer facing channel, and there's issues with it, what governance processes would you put in place to manage that type of scenario? So another action for you if you want to take out. Yeah? You know, what are those processes that you've got in place? What is the governance? How are you managing that process? So just to let you know, if you are putting things in the chat, I can't actually see you. If you've got a question, I would suggest, you know, just speak up, as long as you don't all speak together. The second thing is, how do you explain and how would you manage a crisis if there was the situation that I talked about? I just gave you an example of Claude wiped out a whole database and there was a data breach. How is that managed in today's world? There's so much misinformation being shared, especially in the fragile world that we're living in. And AI ethics is the one thing that will save you. And it becomes really, really important and becomes very real the moment that something goes wrong at scale. If you do not have those policies and ethics in place, you know, and your moral compass isn't where it should be, you're going to face challenges and problems, right? So I'm going to give you a little, you know, how we're going to reframe ethics in an AI framework, responsible AI framework. It's not the only one that's out there. There's many out there, and it's just sort of like to get you going. And you might already have your own. So some of the things you need to ask yourself is, what is the purpose of your framework? Why are you putting it in place? Is it part of your, you know, overall IT policy, data policy? It should really be part of your strategy and risk and governance. So ask yourself, you know, why and how are we using AI? What are we using it for? Are there biases in your AI and how, you know, AI solutions and how you're training and cloning, you know, before you get to the agentic stage? What are you actually, what questions are you asking AI? How are you training it to clone? So on and so forth. So are those biases there? As a leader or even as an employee, you don't want to be associated with a company that has reputational risk and damage. You want to be proud of the organization that you're working with. So where's the transparency? Is the governance in place? What about data protection rights? Is that data and data literacy? So I asked you as an action, first thing is to ask yourself about the data literacy. Second thing was around, looking at your risk and reputational risk through ethics policies in place. But think about the policies you have in place for data governance and data protection. How are you training your people in terms of human judgment and working with machines? If things go wrong, are you prepared and ready for a crisis? And who owns that outcome? As a leader, the buck stops with you. And if you're an employee, it's your role as a responsible employee to highlight the issues and what you're seeing within the organization. So just to share with you, this is what I see as what most great organizations are likely to do in the future. The first thing they're going to do is they will actually look at building a solid foundation. Right? So what I mean by that solid foundation, I mentioned to you earlier that every generation and every faces its own technology revolution. Now more than ever, there's a necessity to make sure the governance actually is in place before you face a crisis. Right? That trust has to be there within the organization, so you can translate that to customers and consumers and your partners. What are your teams doing? That human interaction has to be more, more integrated. It has to be more accountable. This isn't a technology play. While it might seem it, it's actually a big leadership play in terms of how leaders, unprecedented times calls for unprecedented leadership. This is more unprecedented than ever. You've got a very fragile geopolitical climate. You've got technology moving at the pace of God knows what, quantum computers and all sorts of things. So it's about how your leaders manage ethics, how your leaders manage your AI strategy to drive that and get the most out of AI, not a technology play. And it should, ethics should be a strategic asset overall. So what does the future hold? So, the next generation, I would tell me, I talk about, next decade, it's not, as I said, it's not about AI alone. It really will be defined whether humans remain worthy of the power that they create. You're already seeing how much AI is being abused out there. And I think, the rich are getting richer and the poor are becoming poorer across the world. Even in developed nations compared to developing nations to the emerging nations. So wherever you are in the world, and what I find with the emerging nations, you see the quantum leaps. Right? So remember, I was born in Africa, brought up in a Western world in the UK, but I spent 18 years of my life back in those emerging markets of Asia. So those cultural elements come into it, but the message is the same. What I find with the emerging markets, the quantum leaps happen faster, quicker. So the next growth continent of Africa will be the next power continent to watch. But again, I err with caution that those foundations have to be in place. So I want to leave you with this thought. Is it going to be checkmate humanity in the next decade? The answer for me is very simple. It really is up to you as leaders. If you put the right processes, governance, strategy, and ethics in place and do the right thing, then we'll see who has the checkmate. Thank you very much. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing. And I'm happy to take any questions.
I don't want us to end.
Okay.
But because we have a Q&A. But Dr. Benson.
Yes, thank you, Amita, for giving us this amazing training. I would like everyone to say thank you and give us a round of applause. We appreciate that. And for people to have a question and answer, just in case they have any question for you, do you want to have any question? Do you want to answer anything?
Yeah.
Okay, so let me wait. Yeah.
Okay. I have a question here.
I think based on your, maybe it's my own confusion. Sorry, I'm from the oil and gas sector. I'm more technical with design, like platforms and control systems and the automation side. So I really struggle to see the efficiency of AI to that sector. I just because of a lot of reasons, cyber security, you've just talked about misinformation, and of course, behind AI, there is a human being that drives this. There's a human being that programs all of these things. So this human being has gone XYZ places to gather information and develop a tool that people now rely on. Now, how can I protect now it's not my own, of course, say for my clients, how can I protect their system? They give me their system and tell me recently they've been having a lot of cyber attack, and I want to protect my system against this thing. And now the whole world is talking about AI. And there's a human being that is taking information from different things and sticking it and putting things together. And what do you recommend for industries like this now? How do we protect ourselves really against this modern digital? Because personally, I think you should stay out of touch. We should cut it down. Be safe and take everything about AI until somebody gets, because it's a human being. The AI is not, it's not the machine. It's a human being programming the machine. The human being puts in codes inside the machine to work. So there are criminals out there, So what is your recommendation?
Okay, thank you very much for your question. The first thing I'd like to say is, you're talking about oil and gas, a highly regulated industry. Oil and gas, you've got upstream, downstream, critical to many nations. This is why I didn't want to talk about technology. I didn't want to talk about, compliance of its own. But the key message from my talk is about leadership. Yeah? So when you say, how can you protect yourself, that really has to come from top down within an organization. So, what policies do you have in place to actually look at AI? How are your people being trained? What you said quite rightly, it's all about the human beings and what they're putting in, right? So you need to train your people to understand, first of all, the boundaries of data literacy. Is key, understanding what questions to ask and understanding what the data actually means and interpreting that data to look at decision making. So things like understanding your teams to look at critical thinking, systems thinking, how, in oil and gas, you've got upstream, downstream, right? You've got a lot of people across the value chain, and it becomes challenging B2B and B2C as well. So my suggestion to you, there's no easy answer to this, but it really has to be at a leadership strategic level in terms of process. So in terms of governance and strategy, what are you using AI for? What are you not going to use it for? Secondly, in terms of communication and the policies that exist around AI within the company. The third thing is training your people to use the AI effectively. What are you going to use it for? How are you going to challenge that? And there must be checks and balances along the way. There is no easy answer unless it comes from the top. And even when it comes from the top, it's still not easy to do. But the companies that do embrace it and get it right will do really well. Because, they can cut costs by automation, they can enhance processes and efficiencies. And the vast volumes of data, when you combine that with the human interaction, can be really innovative. But those basics must be in place. Do you have the basics in your company right now? Sorry, I don't know your name, but the lady who asked the question with regard to the oil and gas. Do you have the basic strategy or governance in place right now?
I know that it's forbidden in the design side for now. Maybe for now it's forbidden. You don't come up and so define the design and talk about AI. For now, maybe later on, but I know they use AI for other things, for the HR side of things and all that. But in terms of the design itself, we don't know. Just follow what standard we have now, unless somebody comes up to improve the standard and begin to put all these AI things and tools to be used. But for now, no, we don't. Something we should. Well, it's a broad industry, I'm just trying to think of how AI can be really effective for us now in the design side. Not like I'm saying it's not possible in the oil and gas industry. It is for the sector it has to, but when you're coming to do like a design, how do you implement AI to really make it protect your system, to know, to tell your client that really this is, I can vouch that this is, right. So that's what yeah.
Let me give you something to take away. Three things that, and again, I'll repeat that. First thing is, it has to come from a strategic level. They're already using it, AI in HR, then there must be processes and policies in place. Okay, so strategically, it has to become a strategic asset, and that has to be defined by the leaders. Secondly, that culture has to be embraced across the organization, not just one or two divisions. Yeah? So if you really want to maximize and get competitive advantage using it, that's what you need to do. The third thing is those governance and policies enable you to do that. And fourthly, the training has to be in place around data literacy, around what you're going to use it for, and how you're going to challenge the outcomes that AI actually gives you. Yeah? Does that help? There's a whole discussion we could have about this in oil and gas and regulated industries. But to give you some takeaways, think about it from a strategy perspective, governance, processes, risk, and what you're going to use it for, and training people. Okay. Anyone else got any questions? I can see one hand up, but I don't know who it is.
Next question. Did you write our names correctly? Because that's also the using the certificate. You've not written your name?
Do anyone have any other question? Okay. You can speak on now.
Okay, my name is Tanvir. Basically, I just take a note from your speed that critical thinking will be no more, maybe from just because of AI. Or you think about this is true, or it enhance the approach of the people who actually taking notes from AI? Because if I have an employee, so he have to do something for me. So critical thinking will be less, or it should I take care of everything from him.
Yeah, so my message around critical thinking and skills is people start become lazy with AI. Yeah, so they sort of like start thinking, okay, AI is going to give me the answers to everything. So one of the things, when you develop any new technologies and you want to sort of like train your people in them in terms of skills, you need to make sure that their critical thinking skills are enhanced. So things like, analyzing that information, analyzing the responses that are being given to you by AI, right? Evaluating what the recommendation that AI has given you. Are you able to synthesize that information? And you still have to make the decision and make a rational judgment from the solution that AI has given you. You have to question the assumptions. See, AI will only give you the outputs based on what you put in, as you know. Right? So the more you put in, the more it has context, yeah? The better the solution, the better the responses you'll get. So the answer to your question is critical thinking skills. If they, people should have them, but it's something that people need to develop, will actually start diminishing if you don't train your people with AI, because people will start becoming complacent. They start, it goes back to trust. They'll start believing that everything AI tells them is true. And you need to question it, examine the evidence, look at the questions, and use logic, around those decision making when you've got the responses. Does that answer the question?
Yes, I believe so. Some of the part of this answer, but still I'm talking about that, maybe they are more efficient. They can save some time, and because recently I'm start using AI to create my technical and commercial proposals, so that actually really quick, and they have the more information that we are putting before that in our proposal, and but the time is actually really saved. And we go through with that, and so I believe so. It's good for us, maybe on some sort of like specific requirement, but critical thinking maybe is behind the the employees. So
Yeah, look, I totally agree with you. I totally agree with you. Tons of times give you better outputs. But again, you still need to have context there. You need to be able to evaluate that information, synthesize it, and use your critical thinking capabilities to make rational judgments. Yeah.
Thank you.
thank you.
I have one question.
Okay, we have
If you don't
one
mind.
person.
Yeah, hi Amita.
Hi.
So my question is this: where does AI create the experience for the marketing purpose and operational purpose, and how to become the good ROI using the AI?
Okay, so you've asked a couple of things there. So where does AI come into play for marketing purpose? What was the second one?
Yeah. And handle the team.
The AI, so marketing, the team, and ROI, yeah?
Yes, because we are doing some performance marketing using the AI tools, but the thing is that the different challenges we are facing. So I have a question for that.
Okay, all right. So let me address this first. There's a couple of questions within that. So look, I mean, lots of people are using AI. If you look at marketing overall, a lot of people are using AI to from a graphic side. You can create your own graphics images, which I'm sure you already know from a creative perspective. Secondly, in terms of running campaigns, so you can use it for that. The third thing is you can even sort of like create products. So use it for new product development based on research. I don't know. I don't think they've got as far as trials yet, right? Use robots to do. They might have. I'll look that up. But from a marketing perspective, I think those are the type of things you can do. You've got multi-channel marketing, B2B, B2C. And you can put in whatever you want, look at the brand promise and get AI to create a campaign based on your brand promise. And you could even get it to do a competitor's analysis to make you that unique. And that can be across multi-channels. Okay? So does that answer the first part of your question?
Yes.
Yeah, the second one is around return on investment. Now, return on investment, so again, it goes back to, so if you look at a traditional direct marketing campaign, you're going to get around 1% return, right? So if you're lucky in terms of responses, and then link that back to conversions. So traditionally around customer satisfaction and stuff, if once they become customers, you could look at CSAT, NPS, right? So there will be new models coming out for specific measures around ROI. And I don't think it's going to be that easy, but this is where AI could potentially help you. Right? So if you sort of like say, right, I want to run this type of campaigns, but I want an ROI of 10% net profit. See what models, I'd be really interested to see what models AI actually comes out with to do that. Because remember, you have got a global audience. You have to take into account different cultures, different language meanings, different consumer behaviors, different demographics. All of those will impact your ROI. So it's not a straightforward model. And it depends on the timing of your campaign as well. So festives might impact that. So what I would say is before you launch a campaign, decide what you want to do and why you're doing it, how you're going to do it, using AI, but get that performance framework agreed upon, like you would with a normal campaign. I'm going to send out 5,000 mailers. I'm going back to olden days. I expect 0.1% response, out of which I'm going to convert 100, which means X% into profit.
Okay.
Does that help?
Yeah, sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We have one more person. Please can you take that? Then we'll call it the session with you. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Anita. I
Hi.
just want to ask, as AI continues to automate technical and operational functions, what do you believe human leadership becomes even more valuable rather than less valuable?
You're asking my own opinion?
Yeah.
Right now? No. I think human leadership becomes even more valuable. And I'll tell you why. One thing human leaders are very responsible for and should be accountable for is firstly the strategic direction of their company. They decide how, when, and if you use AI and define the outcomes they expect. Most importantly, more important than that, is the governance, ethics, and the culture. Human beings still set the culture. AI doesn't have the emotion to create the culture. Right? So if you have biases, if you've got a toxic culture, if your culture doesn't encourage development to embrace AI, you're going to struggle. You're going to have a fragmented culture. So in short, yeah, human leadership is even more important now than ever to ensure checkmate humanity doesn't actually happen. The companies, as I said, that embrace AI and the leaders that will do very well if they embrace it in the right way. Answer the question?
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Amita. Thank you once again. Thank you for being your great speaker today.
Can we check if there's a question online?
Okay.
Yes, you can bring that.
Okay. I would like to check if there's a question online.
David, do we have questions or someone raising their hand? So that
Someone is raising their hand.
someone is raising their hand. Okay. So that they don't feel left out.
Absolutely.
This person is raising their hand.
Okay, let me. If you're online, you have a question, you can actually speak or you use the chat box. I think they might not be permitted to speak. But use the chat box. Can't see the questions. Okay. Oh, yes, so they can use yes, you will get the recording, will be shared to you and every other person here as well. So yes, we're going to get the recorded version. Okay, if that's the only question we have, then we'll continue right now. Okay, so if we all had an amazing time, we enjoyed the session with our beautiful guests, please let's put some beautiful hands again. That was beautiful, that was powerful.
Thank you for joining us from London.
Yes.
How is weather over there today?
There are questions.
Oh, there are questions?
In the chat, in the Q&A.
Oh,
section,
Q&A.
not the
Okay.
chat.
Oh.
3.
Let me take it. Dr. Benz, you can continue when we're trying to.
Yes, I just want to see how the weather. I believe the weather should be the same as Dubai today. Hopefully, yes.
There's the thinking about the recording.
Okay. I don't know, this is a funny question. Okay. It's not a question. Somebody said, I asked her about you. And it brought out all about you, including who you are married to. Okay, yes. Maybe it's about me, I don't know, or about somebody else.
Let you go now. You enjoy the rest of your day.
I'm not sure if she
Thanks so much. You take care, everyone.
Okay, bye for now.
Everybody say bye to her. Bye. Thank you very much for your time. Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Okay. Bye. Bye. So before Dr. Benson would sit down, I would like her to say one or two things about what our school does, because this is in partnership with her as well.
Nice.
And you can see how beautiful she looks. You won't believe she has, I think your first one is 19, right? 19, okay. She looks like a teenager on the 20. Her first son is 19, so they have wealth of experience, and they've established their school for years in the UK, and now they are bringing their school to Dubai. So I want her to talk more about what they do and how we can be a part of it.
Thank you, everyone, for being here today. And I'm happy, glad to see everyone's face. Everyone is looking flourishing. That's all I can say. And so we are Core Global North London Business School. We deliver and provide courses for corporate companies. multinational companies, small media companies, and also we have a delivery of BSc and postgraduate courses to people across the globe internationally. So our new school will be in Dubai soon. So hopefully we'll be letting you guys have further information. We have a presence here already, but we are making sure that we are delivering and training people. And in partnership with GTES Dubai, we know that we can deliver and impact more into people and companies in Dubai. Thank you for that. And I'd like to know what you have learned today, especially with Amita, and we'll be asking about Mrs. Bissing. From my point of view, I understand that you have to put governance in place, policy in place, framework in place, and also I would like you to know how to implement all this into your organization. If you need further training in this, please let us know. We'll be happy to do that with you going further, because this is not the end of it. I think you should be able to have more implementation into your organization. And we'll be happy to come back and give you full training. This is just like a taster of what you need. And to be ahead of every other company, you have to be involved and know what you need to do in your organization. Because organizations that learn and know what to implement are always ahead of every other companies. So I want you to please sign up for the full course with us going forward. And we can have information about you today if you want to sign up for further training with us, which we'll be able to do. But do you have any question about what Amita have said today that you would like to implement? So we can take it back to her, then we'll use that to kind of work like a bespoke courses for your organization personally. If you have anything that you really think you miss in your organization that you want us to actually want you to help with, we'll be able to devise that, bespoke courses, and they'll bring it back to you.
Okay, any answers?
Obviously, AI policies.
AI policy. Okay, I'll put that down.
And I think that's very key, so that we don't look like
True.
the case.
Okay.
I
So
was
who
just
else wants to
mentioning-
implement something in the organization, or you want to refer some discussion to your boss and you want us to have a discussion with them after this course?
That boss is a bit
And especially
tricky.
who are actually the right people to implement
Training.
AI policies, sorry.
Okay.
So it should be a board of people along with the AI technology and the organizational and lawyer. So who's supposed to, create these policies?
Okay. Okay.
So
So it's something that you want in your organization.
true,
Okay.
exactly.
Thank you. And your name, if I may have?
My name is Tanveer, Tanveer.
Okay, we'll have your email address, then we'll be
Yeah.
able to further discussion with you. Thank you. We have more sessions to take with Mrs. Bissy, but for now, let's carry on, and we are here. Let's network, please. It's important for us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so thank you very much. I'm sure that we are all having an amazing, beautiful, and a wonderful time. Please, if you are, you can let us know if you are having a boring time or you are having a waste of time, so that we would actually know where to fix everything. Sorry, we have to put this on the screen because people are online. There's no screen being shared, so you might see your faces. Don't worry, you're all looking amazingly well. So we have another session coming up. The person taking the session is downstairs, so we're waiting for her to come up. But while we are waiting, actually, can you remove all that out of the packs? Yes. Branding is very key to me, so I don't like what I'm seeing there. That's why I've not announced that. So we're going to have you go right now for 10 minutes. You want to have a pee break. You want to connect more with one another. You want to take water. We don't have tea right now, but you want drinks. You want to take a little snacks as well. You can have that, and we'll be back. What time is it now? This is 1:24. So we'll be back 1:34, and we'll wrap up the rest of the session. Then if you still have more questions, we'd love to take them. And if you still want to add to what Dr. Bensi had said in terms of what you want them to inculcate in their school, then you can also reach out to her. Then one of the things she didn't mention is that, if I'm still correct, you can be a part of our school in Dubai. Then also for the first year you school in Dubai, then for the rest of the years, there are some documentation the school gives to you that's able to allow you to finish the rest of the program in the UK, right? Yes. So do you want to say one or two things before the break?
Yes. So if you have anyone interested or yourself, you would like to do your master's, you can start your master's with us. Even I see as people that you're busy, you might not want to start from the BSc, you might have already got your BSc. So if you want to do your master's, you can do your postgraduate, then your last 3 months, even your dissertation can be done in UK. So we'll put that in place, we'll support you with that, and you'll be able to come and achieve that. So you have, a global certificate. That is what we call it. So another thing, if you have anyone interested in BSc courses from any country, you can let us know. They will come to Dubai from their own country, do their first year, second year, and then third year will be done in United Kingdom. That's another way you can work with you.
So
Thank you.
when you say the third year or the final year, is it a continuation of the same school or you have an affiliate to another school?
It is a continuation of the same school. Yeah.
And you're also affiliated to a school.
Yeah, to some universities. So they can decide on other universities that they want to do their last year with. We'll be able to do that with them.
Isn't that amazing?
This university is
I'm a
started or
marketer.
you want to be started? This university is already started or is want to be started? Started. Which part of the world?
United Kingdom, that's where we're based. But if you have anyone international that want to come to Dubai, they start with us in Dubai, then move to UK for the last year. So it's 3 years course. That's what I'm calling it last year.
Okay.
It's not 4 years course.
Okay. And how many days you want to spend?
2 days a week.
2 days a week. And how much hour? How many hours?
How many hours? About all the total was 240 hours for the modules. So they'll have the 2 days and they can work at the same time.
Okay.
This is on the year.
No, it's on business management,
MBA
management, strategy management, and all that courses like accounting law.
So any course you can think of.
Okay.
My name is Brian and I'm an artist. So I want to ask, do you have anything that has to do with
We can definitely support you on that. Yes. Be in touch. Thank you.
Okay. In absence of further question, so our break starts from 1:27 and 1:37. So 10 minutes, network more, get to know one another better, get to also use the restroom, get some snacks, and of course, we'll continue the last lap. Okay, I'm seeing a lot of beautiful faces. I don't know where to start from. So let me start from the first one, then I go here and go around. Okay.
My name is Blessing. I'm from Zimbabwe. I'm based really. Look alike actually. Yeah, very true. A lot of people they ask me.
She looks Igbo in my culture, yes. She's from Zimbabwe.
From Zimbabwe? Yeah, I'm from Zimbabwe. So for here, I've been here for 5 years here in the UAE. Yeah, I'm based in Sharjah. That's where I work as a business development executive with a free zone called the Sharjah. But in Zimbabwe, I'm owning a company by the name of Later Distribution, whereby we are into logistics.
Yes, nice to meet you. How have you been enjoying your time here?
Oh, you know what happened? My children and my husband, they came to drop me here and then went to church, and I said to them, you guys, I need to go and learn. No time for me to learn. Let me just go and do this. Because AI is something that is good. Because I've been seeing a lot of people creating these funny videos and then it's something that is good. And when you're yeah. And did you see what I created? Now I'm not seeing that it was telling me that I have to do the payment. Let me just to show you the one that was created for me. It was really nice. I really liked it. Like, wow, this is something that is good.
Fatima is downstairs. So please let me call her. Oh, she's downstairs. We just have to I don't know.
Okay.
Oh, this is you. Oh, nice. See what she made. Yeah. She made use our own picture. Oh, this one.
Yeah. Okay. And you know what? I was now even telling it to now say, okay, can you create the actual thing so that at least now it created this just similar to the logo for my company. And then now I was telling it, okay, now can
Look
you
at the suit, so beautiful.
Yeah, this is yellow, vibrant.
Yes.
this is very nice. Yeah. And now I wanted to take this to the rock and then put the one that was created here. And then I let it speak as if I am the one who is talking.
Oh,
So nice.
yeah. Yeah.
It's amazing. Thank
I'm
you.
glad you understand.
Somebody inviting us.
Something.
Yeah.
I want to ask questions. This is from my boss. When about this slide, he asked me, what is it? The answer. What happened when the AI is done? What is the answer?
So what happens with AI? Let me start with who owns the outcome. You own the outcome, not the so AI can always be wrong. And that was why this company, I don't even have the she was talking about that cloud AI because it's in people research. So it means that AI cannot replace you, also still continue the place of continuous learning. Because if you don't know the industry, yes, so you also have to direct AI. Tell you it's not so if AI is giving you a research that this is right, you also go and do your research. Like say I saying the truth. Because you know AI is getting data from different sources online. So that's the way AI gets information. Gets from different online sources. So if you also don't go and check to be sure that no and people can post different things online, both the right news, the wrong news, and AI goes to pick the sources and answers from the wrong side. That's why AI can be wrong.
Yes.
Because it's only the page on what it is.
Right.
You are the responsible.
We the one that make the algorithm.
Yes.
So we the one who because we the one who put the
Yeah. Is she coming? She's here. She's here. Where is she? Where is she? Well, let's say office. When I say we're having a training, I'm not having a training in the office. Oh. Let me follow.
Okay, now I understand.
Yes, yes. So we are responsible for the outcome AI gives us. 100% responsible. So we have to always cross check.
Yeah, I think something. Yeah.
We will have Time is almost up. Let's make use of the 10 minutes we have left. Let's more than one.
Yes, sure. अपनी तो अपनी वर्ल्ड में ही आऊंगा मैं of course. मैं DLD नहीं रहूंगा उसके लिए कॉफी भाई साहब DLD में बढ़िया मिलता है इससे अच्छा कॉफी नहीं मिलेगा आपको वर्ल्ड में